Ivy, did you get a response back yet?
I was still on mute. No, no.
Steve, I'm ready for sound as soon as you are.
Ready.
All right, good evening, everyone. Again, we are having this special meeting. It's for hearing. It is 6:06 at this time. I just wanted to, I opened the meeting so that I can actually recess the meeting. Our Judge Kakavis is having a family emergency at this time. And she is asking that we do have a recess until 7 o'clock. We are asking that everyone do not log off, but definitely cut your cameras off and mute yourselves while we wait. She is going to, her plan is to check in before 7 o'clock to give us an update on her participation tonight. So let's send some positive thoughts for whatever she is facing with her family now, but she will not be able to start the meeting at this time. So we are going to recess until 7.
Madam
Then-
President, if I could shed some information on that, I've
Yes.
received now an additional update that the judge's husband is stepping in to help with the situation, and she believes 7 p.m. will work.
Okay.
But I suppose it's fair to say the situation is fluid. But
Okay.
latest word is that the judge believes that 7 p.m. should still work.
Okay. All right. So everybody, you understand, right? Cameras off, sounds muted, stay on, listen for, someone's voice to say, hey, we're back. And just thank you for your patience. Steve, I guess when I hear someone, I will, if you don't hear, I'll just text you and Laser, or I'll just text Ivy and let you know that we're back and possibly ready, okay?
Madam President, another question.
Yeah, I mean, did we, Ivy, should I have made a motion to recess? Yes.
I don't think you need a motion to recess because there have been times that you've just recessed the meeting.
All right, great. We
Honorable
are
President.
recess.
Madam President, could I just raise one point?
Yes.
It's important that Mr. Williams know what's transpiring. If he tries to log on and finds
Yes.
empty matrix boxes, he might think that he won't know what happened.
Yeah.
So, is there any way we could continue?
Ivy, can you reach out to him?
Mr. Williams.
All right, thank you. All right, and just let me know, Ivy, when you get confirmation that he's aware of, the changes so far.
Will do.
All right, so we're in recess. Take a nap if you can, eat some dinner. Thank you, everybody.
If I take a nap, I'm not waking up, so I'm not doing that. I'll see you guys in a while. Bye.
Okay, see you in a while. Thank you.
Ashley.
Thank you. a look here. A couple of minutes early, but that's fine. It's 6:58. Let me see. Ashley, are you back? Tanya, are you back? Ashley, yes. David, I see. Tanya, I just need to see if Tanya's back. Carrie.
Yay.
All right, Tanya, you're here. Miss Carrie, are you back?
I'm here.
All right, great. So if everyone else could just mute. It is 7 o'clock, so we are back from recess so we can move forward. We do have Judge Kakavis with us at this time. I turn it over to you.
Thank you. Okay, initially, my apologies for the inconvenience of the delay that was occasioned by my need to attend to another matter, but we're here present, and so we will proceed. I am Elena Kakavis, the hearing officer assigned to preside over this matter, and it is indeed the matter of the Board of Education of the Greenburgh Central School District against Terry Williams, and this is a procedure for misconduct brought pursuant to Education Law 1709 sub 18. I'll allow the representatives to again put their appearances on the record for the complainant.
Mark Mulholland of Ruskin, Moscow, Faltashek, Uniondale, New York, for the Greenburgh Central School District Board of Education, along with my colleague Brianna Enck.
And for the respondent,
Terry Williams representing himself.
prior to proceeding substantively, which will be the continuation of the cross-examination of the district's first witness, which is Ms. Darden Cintron, we will address some exhibits, which we can mark and enter into the record. I will note for the record that the representatives on both sides were quite diligent about preparing their exhibits in advance of the hearing's commencement tonight, and also presenting to me arguments on both sides for or against their admission into the record. First of all, I have a number of hearing officer exhibits. Hearing officer exhibit 7 is Mr. Mulholland's letter of May 3, 2021, transmitting exhibits on behalf of Mr. Williams, as well as the transcript from the first day of hearing. Hearing officer exhibit 8 is Mr. Mulholland's letter of May 4th, 2021, transmitting additional exhibits of the respondent, enumerated as 16 through 35. Hearing officer exhibit 9 is a motion in limine by Mr. Mulholland and a letter dated May 4th, 2021. Hearing officer 10 is a letter from Mr. Mulholland dated May 5th, 2021, offering additional respondent exhibits on Mr. Williams's behalf, respondents exhibits 36 and 37. Hearing officer 11 is Mr. Williams' May 5th responses to objections raised by Mr. Mulholland to his exhibits. Hearing officer 12 are Mr. Mulholland's May 5th, 2021 responses to Mr. Williams's arguments regarding his exhibits. Hearing officer 13 is Mr. Williams' response to Mr. Mulholland regarding exhibits 36 and 37. Hearing officer 14 is an email from me to the parties regarding attorney Carol Melnick and other attorney testimony. Hearing officer 15 is my order regarding the motion in limine. Hearing Officer 16 is my ruling on exhibits, and I will describe that for the record, but these hearing officer exhibits are now entered. In terms of additional exhibits, I'm going to mark all of those which have been offered by Mr. Williams, and I will indicate if they are entered into the record or not. If they are not entered into the record, that is the result of my deliberations pursuant to objections raised by Mr. Mulholland and responses offered by Mr. Williams. But this way, all of the exhibits which Mr. Williams sought to be introduced will be entered into the record, will be identified in the record. So we'll begin with Respondents Exhibit 14, which is a Board of Education meeting video of May 19th, 2020, and that has been stipulated into the record. Respondents Exhibit 15 is a Board of Education meeting video from August 20th, 2020, and that too is stipulated into the record. Respondents Exhibit 16 is an email from Ms. Darden Cintron dated August 19th, 2020 to the board, and that is not entered into the record pursuant to my ruling based on relevance, and it's addressing a personnel issue. Respondents Exhibit 17 is an email from Tanya Dragic to the board dated March 2, 2020, and that is not entered into the record pursuant to my ruling as to relevance. Respondents Exhibit 18 is an email from Ms. Darden Cintron to the board dated March 15th, 2020, and that is not entered into the record pursuant to my ruling that it relates to a personnel matter, specifically the superintendent's evaluation and the board's evaluation tools. Respondents Exhibit Respondents Exhibit 19 is an email from Ms. Darden Cintron to Mr. Williams dated February 12th, 2020, and that is stipulated into the record. Respondents Exhibit 20 is an email from Ashley Panetta to Tracy Mares dated February 16, 2020, and that is stipulated into the record. Respondents Exhibit 21 is an email from Tracy Mares to Mr. Williams dated February 20th, 2020, and that is stipulated into the record. Respondents Exhibit 22 is an email from Ms. Darden Cintron to Mr. Williams dated February 16th, 2020, that is not entered into the record pursuant to my ruling that it relates to executive session privilege. Respondents Exhibit 23 is an email from Mr. Williams to Ms. Darden Cintron dated March 25th, 2020, and that is not entered into the record pursuant to my ruling that it relates to executive session privilege. Respondents Exhibit 24 is an email from Ivy Kraus to Mr. Williams dated 4/16/2020, and that is not entered into the record based on my ruling as to relevance. Respondents Exhibit 25 is an email from Mr. Williams to Ms. Darden Cintron dated May 4th, 2020, and that is not entered into the record pursuant to my ruling as to relevance and executive session privilege. Respondents Exhibit 26 is an email from Ms. Darden Cintron to Mr. Williams dated May 28th, 2020, and that has been withdrawn. Respondents Exhibit 27 is an email from Ms. Darden Cintron to Mr. Williams dated June 25th, 2020, and that has been withdrawn. Respondents Exhibit 28 is an email from Carol Allen to the board dated July 2, 2020, and that is entered into the record. Respondents Exhibit 29 is an email from Mr. Williams to Janice Griffith dated July 12th, 2020, and that has been withdrawn. Respondents Exhibit 30 is an email from Ashley Panetta to Mr. Williams dated July 22nd, 2020, and that is not entered into the record pursuant to my ruling as to executive session privilege and a personnel matter. Respondents Exhibit 31 is an email from Mr. Williams to Catherine McGee dated July 30, 2020, and that is not entered into the record pursuant to my ruling as to relevance. Respondents Exhibit 32 is a special meeting resolution dated August 22nd, 2020, and that is stipulated into the record. Respondents Exhibit 33 is an email to Mr. Williams from Mr. Williams to Ms. Darden Cintron dated September 1, 2020, that is not entered into the record pursuant to my ruling as to attorney-client privilege and personnel matters. Respondents Exhibit 34 is an email from Mr. Williams to Ms. Darden Cintron dated September 3, 2020, and that is withdrawn. Respondents Exhibit 35 is an email from Ivy Kraus to Mr. Williams dated December 3, 2020, and that is withdrawn. Respondents Exhibit 36 is a 2019 video of Meet the Candidates Forum, and that is not entered into the record pursuant to my ruling as to relevance. And Respondents Exhibit 37 is a 2020 Scarsdale School District Safety Bulletin, and that is not entered into the record pursuant to my ruling as to relevance. So those documents which I have indicated are entered into the record either by stipulation or pursuant to a ruling which overrules an objection to the document being entered are hereby entered into the record. Okay, if there are no other procedural matters that need to be addressed, then we are prepared to proceed with the continued cross-examination of Ms. Darden Cintron. Mr. Mulholland, is there anything else that you need to raise at this point?
No, Judge, there were two exhibits I had submitted, and I could take them up as far as their admissibility when the time comes during the relevant testimony, but I have submitted them to Your Honor.
Yes, I am in receipt of those. I had not heard back from Mr. Williams as to his position with respect to them. So why don't you just address them during the course of your examination?
Thank you, Judge. I'll do that.
Okay, and Mr. Williams, is there anything else that you need to address before we proceed substantively?
Yes, so my exhibits that are allowed to be a part of this proceeding, have they been uploaded?
Mr. Mulholland, do you know if those have been uploaded?
Yes, Judge. I sent them to Veritext and the technician, Mr. Doherty, who are together. It's Mr. Doherty, technically, who is working the exhibits. So he has them. And I spoke with him earlier today, and my understanding is in custody of all of respondents' exhibits 14 through 37, as well as the ones that were previously marked 1 through 13. He has them, notwithstanding Your Honor's determination as to the non-admissibility of some. So whatever needs to be called up, he can call up.
Okay, and thank you for that accommodation to Mr. Williams, Mr. Mulholland. So Mr. Williams, those that have been admitted into evidence, you can reference, and the technician should be able to share the screen to put those up.
Sure.
I would caution you against referencing anything that is not admitted, as surely it will draw an objection from Mr. Mulholland.
Sure. I also do have one additional exhibit, number 38, which obviously I have not sent. How should that be handled?
Well, why don't you when you get to the point at your examination, whether it's on the cross-examination witness or your direct case, you can offer it at that point, and I will mark it and for identification, and we can entertain any objection that Mr. Mulholland may have. Should you not need to reference it today, if this is something you planned on putting in when you're presenting your case on direct, then we can deal with it if you like between the end of today's proceeding and the beginning of next, as we did with these other ones.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. So we're ready?
We are ready. So Ms. Darden Cintron, you continued in your examination. This is, I remind you, cross-examination by Mr. Williams. I'm going to re-administer the oath. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that your testimony will be the truth?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Williams, I will just remind you to keep your questions concise. And Ms. Darden Cintron, listen closely to the question asked and answer that directly. If you hear an objection from Mr. Mulholland, then give us the opportunity to resolve it before you continue with your answer. And if you don't understand something or you don't remember, then just be comfortable saying that, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams, whenever you're ready.
Sure. Antoinette, when addressing you at meetings, do I typically refer to you as Antoinette, Ms. Darden Cintron or Madam President? Yes or no?
I'm sorry, can you ask the question again?
Sure. Yes or no? When addressing you at meetings, do I typically refer to you as Antoinette, Ms. Darden Cintron, or Madam President?
Yes.
Yes. At the last, during the last session during cross-examination, you said I called you bad president. Yes or no?
I don't remember.
Okay. Have I ever addressed you as Bad President Darden Cintron or Madam Bad President?
No.
Okay. Would you agree that if I called you a bad president, that was me expressing my opinion about your performance and not calling you a name? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. You wrote in an email to the attorney, Exhibit 11, and I will turn to it. And this is Board Exhibit 11. You wrote on May 20th, Hi, Larry and Carol. Can you please advise me how I can address this? Terry Williams spent the beginning yelling at me. Yes or no? The meeting in question is the 5/19 budget meeting.
I don't remember.
Okay. Could the tech please put up the exhibit, respondent exhibit number 14?
One second.
Thank you. While he's putting it up, I'll just ask this question too. So yes or no, your email to the attorney dated 5/20 alludes to the most recent meeting, which would have been 5/19.
Yes.
Okay. So Tech, if you could click on the link and have this play for until the 46-second mark.
I'm gonna have to convert that real quick before I can do that. One second.
Sure, sure.
Are you gonna have any others like that too, as well?
Probably not with this witness.
One second. All right, hang on one second. And you want to go to where? 47-second?
Yeah, just start it and play it until the 46-second mark, please.
It's not wanting to. Hang on a second.
It's a YouTube.
I understand that.
Sure.
Hang on a
Okay.
second. Supposed to be audio with it.
Yes, there is.
The audio's not working through this. If I'd known this a little bit beforehand, I could have fixed it.
How long will it take you to fix?
I don't know what the issue is. I'm trying to figure that out real quick. I'm going across Zoom. Hold on one second.
Sure.
Mr. Williams, otherwise, will it disturb the sequence of your examination to move on and then come back to this?
It will.
Okay, then we'll wait.
Okay.
So it appears to be working. There is silence at the beginning. So if you don't
Okay.
hear anything now, that's not indicative of a problem necessarily. Could you keep that on the screen, please? Even though this is silent? Thank you.
No, and we're going to,
So that was the 46-second mark. Am I correct? Tech?
Yes. We're at
Okay.
55 right now. Shut it off.
That you can pause it, please. Thank you. So Antoinette, yes or no? Yes or no? You were audible for the first time at the 46-second mark. Yes or no, Antoinette?
yes. I can't
So-
see the timing myself, but yes.
Okay, so per your comment in the email to the attorneys, Terry Williams spent the beginning yelling at me. We saw the beginning of the meeting and I have not yelled at you. Yes or no?
Actually, the beginning of that meeting was silent. And if you play the rest of the meeting.
The question was a yes or no question.
No,
Okay,
Terry.
Rephrase your question, Mr. Williams.
We just saw the beginning of the meeting. Yes or no? Did I begin the meeting yelling at you?
No.
Thank you. Tech, could you please play from that point where you stopped all the way until 2 minutes and 4 seconds?
All right, good evening, everyone. It is 6:38 and I'm calling our budget meeting to order.
Okay, so the meeting starts there at 6:38 p.m. at about the 1:50 mark. Would you agree? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Tech, could you start the video again and play it to the 2 minute and 40-second mark?
From right there,
Yes,
2 minutes and 40 seconds.
correct.
Okay, here we go.
All right, everyone, you have already you've received the current draft. Is this draft 8 we're on? I
8B.
8B. Okay, we have 8B. Can everybody, if you haven't already, pulled it up, can you please pull it up so that for those who may have some questions about current draft. Oh, Dr. Chase.
Thank you. Yes or no, Antoinette, have I yelled at you? The meeting has started. Have I yelled at you at the beginning of the meeting as you wrote in the email to
Not
Larry?
at this time.
Yes or no will suffice. And also, yes or no, can you see that little yellow hand clap in the image, in my image?
Yes.
Yes or no, that signals me trying to get your attention.
No.
Okay. Tech, could you please play to the, oh, hold on for a second, please. Okay, Tech, could you please play from this point to the 3 minute and 20 mark?
Yes, sir.
That's fine. Would you have a problem if that? Got to mute. Okay. I just want I want the board and the community to know that this budget actually reflects comments that were made at the fiscal planning meeting on Saturday, and it also reflects recommendations that the board has offered the administration. So I just want to be clear that we've heard the voices, and so we can begin to open this for discussion. I think that's
Tech, could you, thank you, Tech. Yes or no, Antoinette, have I yelled at you since this meeting has begun?
No.
Yes or no, can you see my image?
Yes.
Yes or no, is my hand raised?
Yes.
Okay, Tech, if you could continue to play, yes or no, did I wait patiently and quietly? Oh, no, wait, Tech, continue to play it from this point all the way to the 4 minute 13 point of this video, please. You're muted, Antoinette.
I'm just trying to get to it because I was looking at the budget. Yes, Terry.
So if what would be helpful to me, since we just received this, is if Dr. Chase and Mary could perhaps tell us the differences between, I guess we call this 8B, because when we last met, I guess we had done 8A, and that version had 0% tax levy. And so I want to know what this one is. I basically want to know what's the difference between these two budgets. So yes or no, Antoinette, around the 3 minute and 30 mark, I began speaking to you. You acknowledged me and I began speaking. Yes or no? Did I scream at you as you said? Did I scream at you in my opening comments as you said in your memo to Carol and Larry? Yes or no?
I didn't reference opening comments.
Yes or
but-
no? Yes or no? Judge, could you please?
Yes, again, just listen directly, although Mr. Williams, I don't want an objection for badgering the witness, Ms. Darden Cintron, though, just listen directly to the question and answer it. And then Mr. Mulholland will have the opportunity on redirect to address some of those points.
Thank you.
So allow me to rephrase the question, Judge. So we just listened to my first comments since you acknowledged me. That started at about the 3:30 mark and went on to the 4:13 mark. Did my opening comments, in my opening comments to you, was I yelling at you? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Okay, Tech, please play the video until I ask you to stop.
Okay.
Okay. I can tell you since the budget that we had on the website on Saturday that the community reviewed, based on responses at the fiscal planning meeting, as Dr. Chase said, and comments from the Board of Education, we have removed the following. We've removed all food from the district. So we won't have food purchases. That was $6,875. We removed all travel, which totaled $64,398. We will be able to use some of that in one of the title grants if necessary. We removed $130,500 in equipment. We have reduced a salary line by $10,000. We have reduced contractual items by $56,900. We have reduced supplies overall by $157,200. And we have reduced tuition by $20,000. So total reductions that were made were $445,873. We then added into the budget $1,331,000 into the interfund transfer line. So our total budget, final budget is $71,159,739. It represents a 0.58% budget to budget increase. The tax levy increases by $885,127, which is a levy increase of 1.46%. However, I have to note that the tax rate still decreases by 0.33%. So even with this budget, the community will see a slightly lower tax impact than they currently have.
Tech, can you pause for a second? I just want to see. Great. Okay. Continue, Tech, please.
When I hit the button, it's going to be. I hit the wrong button and it made it back up. So do you know exact kind of where we were?
Yeah, go to about the Go to about the 5-minute mark, please.
Okay.
By $10,000. We have reduced contractual items by 56,900. We have reduced supplies overall by 157,200, and we have reduced tuition by 20,000. So total reductions that were made were $445,873. We then added into the budget 1,331,000 into the interfund transfer line. So our total budget, final budget is $71,159,739. It represents a 0.58% budget to budget increase. The tax levy increases by $885,127, which is a levy increase of 1.46%. However, I have to note that the tax rate still decreases by 0.33%. So even with this budget, the community will see a slightly lower tax impact than they currently have.
So if I could just follow up with a few questions, Antoinette. You're on mute. Antoinette, you're on mute.
Yes, Terry, go ahead.
Can you pause that, please, Tech?
Just to make sure I got some of.
So we're now at the 6-minute and 34 point of the meeting. At about 6:14 is when Mary O'Neill finished. I raised my hand and asked if I can be allowed to follow up. Yes or no, Antoinette, have I yelled at you since this meeting began?
No.
Okay. Tech, could you play from this point and go up to the 10-minute mark?
For those things, Mary, you said you reduced travel by how much?
Sorry, I couldn't get my mute off. I'm looking between two computers, so it's a little difficult. $64,398.
Okay,
Anybody that had travel and conference in it with a object code of 448 was removed. I believe I've captured them all.
Okay, and you said you reduced equipment by $130,000?
$130,500, yes.
500. What equipment are we talking about here, or what lines? I guess is.
There's a whole slew of lines that it went through. So some examples, I can tell you we removed. I'm going back to the spreadsheet, and you should also have a detailed spreadsheet of line by line. But let me just.
Is that the budget thing here that says the specific budget? We have the summary budget, and then we have another thing here.
We had sent something on Dr. Chase maybe Monday of line by line changes that we made. And I did add 2 additional things on there since that, but let's see. So things that we removed.
I'm sorry, Mary, that's the email that has the yellow bar that everyone, that Ms. Darden Cintron was speaking about. So that was sent, I think it was sent Monday.
Okay, so
what you do is just while you're talking, I'll just resend it so board members don't have to look for it.
So equipment that we removed, the superintendent had a little bit of money in equipment. I did. We removed, my office did. We removed that. Operations and maintenance removed $39,000 out of their equipment budget. Curriculum development had $750 that was removed. We had the administrators were looking for some equipment for their offices. We removed those.
How much was that? How much was that, Mary?
It varied by building.
Okay, no worries then.
So Jackson was 2,500. Highview was 1,000. Bailey was 4,000. The high school was 3,000. We removed equipment district-wide. Now we usually try to have some money set aside for the unknown. We had $20,000. We removed that. And then looked at the individual buildings on what they were looking to put in the classrooms, and they were all brought to the same level. So they will have $5,000 in their budgets to prioritize whatever equipment they may need for their building. We looked at technology. We had added some money into technology because of COVID and trying to make sure the kids had what they needed. But we've been fortunate that we've been trying to order some stuff in advance. So we removed $5,000 out of each one of their equipment lines. The TV studio, we removed their equipment money. They'll have to hold off another year to upgrade. And I think
Okay.
that covers their equipment.
That's it.
Let it go a little bit longer, Tech, please. Thank you.
Okay, I don't want to take up too much time, and I just received the email from Dr. Chase with the yellow line. I do have a question about the reduced salary.
Pause it there, Tech. Thank you. So we just listened to Mary O'Neill answer my questions. Yes or no, Antoinette, did you hear me say just now that I don't want to take up too much time? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no? Isn't this a sentiment that is consistent with our board norms of not speaking too long?
That is the sentiment, yes.
And going back to the questions, and have I yelled at, yes or no, have I yelled at you? We're 10 minutes into the meeting. Yes or no, have I yelled at you?
No.
Yes or no, you did say in your email to Larry and Carol, Terry Williams spent the beginning yelling at me. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no, did you misspeak or were you lying?
I did not misspeak.
Yes
I
or
was
no?
not lying.
Yes or no? Okay.
No.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Tech, please start the tape and let's go to 11:22.
Explain to me what that's about, please.
That I was asked by a board member to reduce the assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction salary for next year for by $10,000.
Okay. Well, so we reduced it from what to what, I guess, is the question. Is my first question.
I apologize, from 190,000 down to 180,000.
Why was it put at 190 initially?
Initially, trying to attract candidates.
Okay, and will we be able to attract a suitable candidate at 180?
I would have to defer to Dr. Chase on that one.
Dr. Chase?
I'm not really sure if this goes into executive session or not, but I'm going to defer to the board president if this goes into executive session.
To me, it feels like it does, because it feels like we could be taught. And Terry and David, maybe my guys might feel differently, because when we get to the point where
Leave it there, or you want to keep going?
Let her finish the comment. Thank you, Tech.
there may be someone that is a viable candidate, then you start talking about like negotiation. So to me, it feels like it is.
It's right on the line. I think if we don't discuss a person, it's not. And I'll keep it brief, my next point. So, and then we can, if we need to
Pause it, Tech, please. So yes or no, Antoinette, you asked myself and David for our advice regarding if this discussion was appropriate for executive session.
Yes, I asked the question.
Yes, and that was based, and you asked me of that, you asked that question of yes or no. You asked that question of myself and perhaps David because of our past service as presidents.
Yes.
Okay. Yes or no, have I yelled at you since this meeting began? Have I screamed at you, to use your language? No, I'm sorry, you used the word yelling. Have I yelled with you, yes or no? Have I yelled at you, yes or no, since the meeting began?
No.
But you did write in the memo to Carol and Larry that I began the meeting yelling at you. Yes or no?
Those
I
are
can
not
read it
the
to you
words.
if you like.
You should read it.
I can
Those are
read it
not
to
the
you if you
words
like.
that I used.
Judge,
Yes
object,
or no?
object.
Just a second. Mr. Williams, just stick to questions, okay? If the witness can't recall and needs you to read it, that's fine, but just, there can't be a back and forth.
Sure, I'll read it right now then. Thank you. Again, this is Board Exhibit 11, dated May 20th, 2020 at 1:57 p.m. from Antoinette to Larry Tenenbaum, Lawrence Tenenbaum, and Carol Melnick. Subject, board behavior. Hi, Larry and Carol. Can you please advise how I can address this? Terry Williams spent the beginning yelling at me. I tried several times to stop by pleading with him to stop. Yes or no, Antoinette? Has that occurred at the beginning of this meeting?
No.
Yes or no? Did you misremember or were you lying when you wrote this?
You're saying, Judge
I'll rephrase.
Katsoudas, he's
I'll
saying
rephrase.
two statements, but
wait.
just
I'll
wants a
rephrase.
yes or no. So it's hard to answer yes or no for that.
Strike,
will
wait,
rephrase.
wait, Mr. Williams, wait a minute. Strike the record regarding the witness's comments made to me. Mr. Williams, ask a single question at a time.
When you wrote this memo, when you wrote this email to Carol and Larry, were you lying or did you misremember?
I may have misremembered the timing, yes.
Okay. Tech, continue playing until, and Tech, can you do me a favor? Sometime, can you keep the timestamp there at the bottom visible when you play the videos? That would be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, play this please until the 12-minute mark, please.
All right. And what if I let it go until you tell me to stop right when I hit 12? Because
Okay,
they're still
do
talking.
that.
Okay.
Sure.
An executive session, we can. Mary, I heard you say a board member asked you to reduce it to 10,000?
Reduced by 10,000.
Okay. Antoinette, a board member can make a recommendation that we do something. This board member is asking that it goes back up to $10,000. And then we can have a discussion as a board. But, you know, a board member cannot have that done. It is the board that decides if that is done. From what I'm hearing from Dr. Chase, to attract a suitable candidate, you know, obviously you're not going to get, you know, you put a salary point up and a lot of people will say, no, I'm not interested. But to attract a certain caliber of candidate, it sounds as though, as Dr. Chase is saying, that's the amount that's necessary. This board member suggests that we would like it back up to $10,000.
And I think that's, yeah. And I think that's fine. I think that board members have the ability to, you know, make their requests. And of course, like in emails, we can't go, you know, back and forth and have that type of meeting. That's why we're here. So that's one suggestion that a board member makes. You're making another one, that's fine, but that's obviously something that we as a as a whole have to get consensus on and see the direction that we are asking as a board, Dr. Chase, to go through.
All right, so I'm asking for that. Let me
Tech,
just
could you
go
pause it,
through
please? Thank you. So, yes or no, you agreed with my position that the salary, the agreed upon salary is a decision by the entire board, yes or no?
Yes,
And yes or no, to use your language, have I spent the beginning of this meeting yelling at you?
no.
Okay. Tech, could you please play until I ask you to stop?
Yes, sir.
few things, other things that Mary mentioned. Very
Hold
quickly.
on, Terry. I think Dr. Chase might have wanted to respond to something, to the part that we
sorry.
were just talking about.
So without going into any specificity, because it's not appropriate, I won't do that. But I will say that I would like for, first of all, Mr. Williams, thank you for that comment because it is true. But I also would like to, I'd like for the board to take a look at salary ranges. And so I'd like for us to have a conversation about what we can offer that person coming in. And I think that's a healthy conversation.
Okay, Tech, could you pause it?
Hey, Dr. Chase.
So, yes or no, Antoinette, you stopped me from speaking because Dr. Chase had information to share, yes or no?
Yes,
And I stopped and waited, yes or no?
yes,
Yes or no, was my action, and by action I mean hearing you and stopping, was that an example of bullying you?
no,
Was my action of stopping, was it of me trying to intimidate you?
no,
And yes or no, did I yell at you to not stop me or interrupt me? Yes or no?
no,
So we're 14 minutes into this meeting, and yes or no, have I yelled at you?
no,
Okay. Yes or no, Dr. Chase agreed with my position that to attract a higher caliber of candidate, a higher salary might be necessary. Yes or no?
yes.
Okay. Tech, could you please play, let's skip to the 15:35 mark. And when you get there, just wait for me, please. Actually, go to 15:35 and then start playing it, please.
Right. Okay. And my final question right now is, what about the PR budget? Where are we there?
We did reduce that by 21,000.
Okay.
There were
And
two
again,
The spreadsheet that that the board has, there were only two additions to that. One was the salary that we discussed, and then the other is a reduction in the PR budget of 21,000.
right. And who made that recommendation, or how did that recommendation come about?
Again, it came from a board member.
Okay. Again, this board member would suggest that we put it back because, again, I think we're doing a great job with PR. I don't want to see us take a step backwards. As you know, as a former journalist, I understand that people are now in charge of their media. The Journal News has a circulation now, a daily circulation in the five figures, and that's down significantly from their heyday. We have done a great job with our branding. We've done a great job with our outreach to people. We've done a great job on social media. We've done a great job. The PR people that we've had they've done a good job of placement. So I don't want to see us lose that. And since we as a board get to decide that, I am recommending that we put back that $21,000.
Okay, so let me be very clear.
Can you pause it, please? Thank you. So yes or no, Antoinette, I made a recommendation about my opinion to restore the 21,000 in the PR budget. Yes or no? You're muted, Antoinette.
Sorry, my apologies. Yes.
Yes or no? I was polite but firm in my recommendation. Yes or no?
Not in my opinion.
I didn't ask you your opinion. I asked you yes or no. Was I polite but firm in my recommendation?
Objection.
That's been asked and answered by the witness.
So Tech, please play back it up a little bit to about the 17-minute mark and play it until about 22:50.
I am recommending that we put back that $21,000.
Okay, so let me be very clear. At the fiscal planet meeting that I attended, along with various members of our community and board members, we were asked to provide specific reductions per lines of the budget. I believe I then text the board asking board members to please do so. And I also sent an email about that to please do so as well. So while individual board members responded, and I think it was, if my count is correct, it's at least 3 or 4 board members did respond to that request and did provide recommendations. So that's what you're hearing. You're hearing different recommendations from, and Mary, don't let me speak for you, but I believe that that's what you're hearing, that you are hearing some of the recommendations or suggestions that board members who decided to respond did respond to.
Pause it there, please.
Thank you for saying.
Thank you, Tech. So, yes or no, you disagreed with my position on the PR budget.
Could you play that back again?
I am recommending that we put back that $21,000.
Okay, so let me be very clear. At the fiscal planet meeting that I attended, along with various members of our community and board members, we were asked to provide specific reductions per lines of the budget. I believe I then text the board asking board members to please do so. And I also sent an email about that to please do so as well. So while individual board members responded, and I think it was, if my count is correct, it's at least 3 or 4 board members did respond to that request and did provide recommendations. So
Pause it right there, please.
Hearing different.
So that's where we left off, Antoinette. So the question was, yes or no, you disagree with my position on the PR budget?
No.
Okay, yes or no? In that last portion of the tape, you said that you admitted to contacting board members by email and text to ask them for budget recommendations. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no? Doesn't NYSBA, the New York State School Board Association, discourage Board of Educations from conducting business by email or text because it potentially circumvents open meeting law?
Objection.
Go ahead, Basis.
Judge, this is not about President Darden Cintrone's conduct at board meetings. This is about Mr. Williams' conduct.
And Mr. Williams, you want to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor. This is setting the stage for Ms. Darden's improper allegations against me, saying that I yelled at her. This is part of the narrative that led up to this. So this is relevant because, you know, without telling the story ahead of time, it will show that that she indeed is the one who escalated this.
Okay, well, Mr. Williams, let's get to that specifically. I don't think the question regarding NISMA's opinion is relevant. So I'd get more directly to the issue at hand, which is your claim that you did not yell.
Okay. Okay. Tech, please play the tape, and if you could keep the timestamp visible for me. Thank you.
Recommendations from, and Mary, don't let me speak for you, but I believe that's what you're hearing, that you are hearing some of the recommendations or suggestions that board members who decided to respond did respond to.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me tell you, thank you for suggesting that what you think I'm hearing, because this is what I am hearing. What I'm hearing is we had a fiscal planning committee meeting attended by 4 board members. Okay, that's not supposed to happen. Secondly, what I'm hearing, what I'm hearing is what I'm not hearing is a recommendation. What I heard from you is you sent out an email, and I did get an email. I got a bunch of emails, but we're not supposed to operate like that with emails. Our attorneys have always told us, be careful with the emails because that circumvents the public meeting law. And that is why I did not respond to many of those emails, because a lot of that information is public information that is to be handled in this environment. Obviously, the better environment meet in public, but lacking that, this is what we have, but it has to be public. That was not a board meeting. That was not a board meeting. That was a committee meeting. And it turned into a de facto board meeting because you had 4 board members there, and it was never, Ivy, was that meeting noticed as a board meeting?
No, it was not. It was noticed as fiscal planning committee.
Right. And again,
Tech, could you pause, please?
it's all the rules. I don't really.
Yeah, Tech, I just need to be able to see the timing on that. Is there a way to keep that going?
I've been kind of jogging back and forth, trying to keep it up there.
Yeah. All right. All right. You know, I'll keep going until about the 22:46 mark, please. Let's try to do that.
Really want to get into that right now, but my point is this, Antoinette. I heard Mary say that a board member suggested that we cut the budget, that particular line item by 21,000. A board member can make a suggestion. That's all a board member can do. A committee can only make a recommendation.
To us to do. So
yeah, okay.
Again, we were specifically asked.
Excuse me.
No,
I didn't
because
interrupt
you're going because.
Can you pause that?
You
So yes or no, Antoinette? I had the floor at the time.
Yes.
Yes or no, you interrupted me.
Yes, at that time.
Right. So and yes or no, when I objected to you interrupting me, did I say, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me?
Yes, you said excuse me.
I didn't interrupt you. Yes or no?
No.
Tech, could you rewind? Could you go back a little bit and let that play? Right there is good.
Mr. Williams, I think the witness may have misunderstood the last question, but go ahead, play it and then ask your
Sure.
question again.
Okay.
Be careful with the emails because that circumvents the public meeting law. And that is why I did not respond to many of those emails, because a lot of that information is public information that is to be handled in this environment. Obviously, the better environment meet in public, but lacking that, this is what we have, but it has to be public. that was not a board meeting. That was not a board meeting. That was a committee meeting. And it turned into a de facto board meeting because you had 4 board members there, and it was never, Ivy, was that meeting noticed as a board meeting?
No, it was not. It was
Thank you.
noticed as fiscal planning committee.
Right. And again, so that circumvents all the rules. I don't really want to get into that right now, but my point is this, Antoinette. I heard Mary say that a board member suggested that we cut the budget, that particular line item by 21,000. A board member can make a suggestion. That's all a board member can do. A
And
committee
that's
can only
what
make a
was asked
recommendation.
to us to do. So
Yeah, okay.
again, so we were specifically asked.
Excuse me.
No,
I didn't
because
interrupt
you're
you.
going, because
didn't
what's
interrupt you.
happening
I
now,
didn't
Terry,
interrupt
is
you.
that
I
you
didn't
Pause it,
are
interrupt
please.
happening now.
Pause it, please. So again, when I objected to you interrupting me, did I say yes or no? Excuse me. I didn't interrupt you.
I answered that. I said yes. You did say
You
that.
had not answered that
I
because,
did answer.
okay. Yes or no, is excuse me the language associated with bullying?
Depends on the tone.
Okay. The question was a yes or no question. The question was a yes or no question.
No.
Okay. Continue to play it, please.
Terry,
I didn't
is that
interrupt
you
you.
are
There
dominating
you
the
go again.
meeting.
Whenever you disagree with me
Terry,
about something,
that's not true.
you
Now, you
interrupt
can
me,
lie
and
if
then
you
you try
want
to
to.
take it in a place
Terry,
where I'm
you
like
can
being rude to
lie
you or
if
something.
you want
And
to,
all
but
I'm
that is
doing
not
is
how
trying to
I
make a
Pause it,
point.
please.
Circumvented the rules.
Yes or no, Antoinette? We were having a discussion and you were the first one to raise an insult by saying you can lie if you want to.
Yes.
Yes or no? Until this time, I have not called you anything else but Antoinette, maybe President Darden Centron, maybe Madam President. Yes or no?
Yes.
So yes or no? So you were the first one to call me out of my name.
I didn't call you out of your name. I spoke to your language.
Yes or no? You were the first one to use the word lie.
Yes.
Okay. Continue to play that tech, please.
And then you get mad. And then you try to blame me for something. If you just
Terry,
let me finish, I'll listen to you.
Terry, no,
I'll
I'm
listen to you.
asking you, as board president, could you please? You have dominated this conversation for the last 15
And that's what you
minutes.
always say. You
And
never say anything
Terry,
to other board members who
Terry,
dominate conversations.
Terry,
I can tell you that I would have been done already if you just let me ask my question.
that's not true. That is
It
not
is true.
because I said
You can predict the future now?
I
Well,
sat silent
listen. How about you just
times,
let
and
me
when you
ask my
say
question?
something,
How
no, I'm
about
not.
you just let
Terry,
me ask my question? How
Terry,
about you just see, and this is what you do.
have
The
asked
passive aggressive
multiple
behavior.
questions.
You don't
At this
like,
time,
you
you
don't
have
like when I
asked
say
multiple
something.
questions,
You don't like
and
the
you are
reasoning that I'm giving you. And then you go ahead
dominating
and try to silence
the
me. And this is
meeting.
not the mark of a good president. This is not leadership.
Terry, guess what?
This is not leadership.
Terry, you
This is not leadership.
displaying
Let me
good
just ask my
leadership.
question.
You
All
also
I'm
are
doing
not
is asking
displaying good leadership
I
as
asked
well.
about the $21,000.
So if you can allow me, you're asking questions right now
No,
that
wait,
I'm
you cut
trying
me
to
off.
hear
You
because
don't
you're
even know my
saying
question.
things.
You don't even
Terry,
know my
you
question.
are saying
You
things
don't
that
even
are
know my
not
question.
correct,
You don't even know my question.
and I'm trying
You
to
cut me off.
provide you with that information, Terry.
You're providing it before you know
Terry,
my question.
no, because you're saying, I think maybe you
have
are
not allowed me to
losing
finish
track of
asking my
all of the
question.
things that you are
You have
saying.
not allowed me to finish. I only have one other question. Yeah, okay, you're gonna put me in mute, or you gonna put me in the rubber room?
Oh.
Pause it there, please.
So
Pause it there, please, and back up maybe to about the 2155 mark. Thank you. So yes or no, Antoinette, you and I were going back and forth there.
Yes.
Yes or no? Would you characterize this as you gave as well as you got? Yes or no?
No.
So yes or no? You would say that you were being bullied there.
No.
Yes or no? You did say that that in your memo, you did say that I began this meeting yelling at you.
Yes.
But that was not the case. Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
So you and I, you agree, yes or no, you agree, we were both going back and forth there. But in your email to Larry and Carol, yes or no, did you play the victim of alleged bullying?
No, I did not. I was very clear and I still.
Yes or
meant
no,
what I
yes or
said.
no, yes or no, yes or no?
No.
Hey, she
Okay,
said no, just,
okay. So I'm going to read the second paragraph of this memo, Exhibit 11. I have witnessed actual bullying, which is pervasive towards other board members on a consistent basis. Is there anything we can do to officially address this? Yes or no? Did you allege that I bullied you?
No. Read it again. No.
Excuse me, I'm asking the questions here.
that's correct. Strike the witness's statement.
Yes or no? Did you mislead the attorney when you wrote that Terry Williams spent the beginning yelling at me?
No.
Okay, Tech, could you play this, please?
You are
You have
saying.
not allowed me to finish. I only have one other question. Yeah, okay, you're gonna put me in mute, or you gonna put me in the rubber room?
Oh, please. You're so
So now,
childish.
my question is this. Excuse me, please. Is there not a commercial for you to watch right now, Ms. Carey? So look,
Will you please?
my point is this. My point is this. Point is this. Go watch television, Ms. Carey. So
Can you
look,
pause it, please? So at or about the 22-minute mark, Trustee Carey interjected and called me childish. Yes or no? You're muted, Antoinette.
Yes.
Yes or no? Is name calling a violation of our board norms?
Yes.
Yes or no? At
Just-
no time did,
Wait, just because I want the record to be clear. Would the tech please play back at 22 minutes? I want to hear the comment about childish.
Oh, please. You're so
So now,
childish.
my question is this. Excuse me, please. Is there not a commercial for you to watch right now, Ms. Carey? So look,
Will you please?
my point is this. My point is this. Point is this. Go watch television, Ms. Carey. So look,
Okay, you can stop it there. Thank you. Mr. Williams, you can go ahead.
yes or no? At no time did you, well, yes or no? Is name calling a violation of our board norms?
Yes.
Yes or no? Did you say anything, any kind of reproach or admonishment to Miss Carey for insulting me?
At the time, no.
Yes or no, you were frustrated by my questions about whether or not an illegal meeting had occurred.
No.
Okay. Okay, continue to play the video, please.
You
This
feel
meeting
good now?
that
Does that make
you're supposed
feel
to,
good,
you're supposed to
Terry?
make a recommendation. So the recommendation
don't-
is for $21,000. Cut. I'm saying my recommendation, since Mary said it was one board member, this board member is saying it should be restored. And we let the entire board decide, not one board member at a meeting that was an illegal meeting.
Illegal
Can you pause it there?
Just to
Can you
correct,
pause it there? Thank you. So, yes or no, at some point you did allow me to continue.
yes,
Yes or no, I finished up in less than a minute. Yes or no?
are you referencing when you ended your comments? Like when you stopped
Yes.
talking?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, continue to play the tape, please.
Correct you, Terry. That suggestion was not made at the fiscal planning meeting. It was requested of the board to send their suggestions to administration, and that's what happened. No one had any dialogue back and forth through email, which would constitute a meeting, but it did not. We sent in suggestions. So I sent a suggestion, I believe it did. I sent a suggestion about a variety of things. So did other members. I called, left messages. Like I forgot to add that I called and left messages for board members that hadn't responded because I wanted to explain why we were actually how we came to being asked to, send suggestions. So I called, left voicemails, texts, and also emails. Again, it was about 4 people did.
Antoinette.
And this is for us to have the conversation here. We just wanted to share the information so that Dr. Chase and Mary has it ahead of time and not getting these suggestions today at this meeting. So it really was trying to allow, hold on, Tanya, it really was trying to allow for some efficiency so they can have these things in advance. I believe I asked for people to send it by Sunday so they can have it in advance, be able to review with it and be prepared for this conversation here. Tanya.
Okay, you can pause it.
So Antoinette.
So you can pause it, Tech. Thank you. So Antoinette, yes or no? After allowing me to finish, you stated your position.
Yes, I explained.
Yes, okay. And yes or no, do you know if I agreed or disagreed with you?
No, I don't know.
Okay, but one thing we do know is that I allowed you to state your position without interrupting, yes or no?
Yes,
Yes or no, did you extend me that same courtesy?
I extend,
Yes or no, did you extend me the same courtesy?
no,
Yes or no, that's indicative of bullying behavior.
no,
Yes or no, interrupting somebody is not bullying behavior?
no.
Okay. Yes or no? To wrap up this part of it. So you falsely accused me, yes or no? You falsely accused me of beginning the meeting yelling at you, yes or no?
It's
No.
asked and answered a number of times.
Okay. Let's move on to the allegation that I disclosed confidential information. Judge, at this time, I'd like to enter Exhibit 38 into the record. And I think I'd have to email that to you all. To whom should I email this?
I don't know that in a public meeting, people are going to want, I don't particularly want my email.
Oh, no, well, I have, you know, you just
Don't
tell
you
me.
email, why don't you email it to you if you, why don't you email it,
To Hiawatha.
yeah, to the tech?
Okay, okay, great.
I'm gonna put my name in the, my email address in the chat.
Hiawatha, I have your email address already.
Okay, then if you'll
So
send
you
it.
don't even have to do that. Yeah, just give
Thank
me 1 second.
Thank you.
Judge, while Mr. Doherty is doing that, I would like to
I
express,
think you mean Mr. Williams.
I mean, Mr. Doherty.
Doherty.
Oh, I'm sorry.
While Mr. Doherty is managing the exhibit, I'd like to express my concern that we not post for public display any document that might ultimately not be admissible, and certainly that might contain privileged attorney-client information or executive session information or anything like that. I'm just my concern.
Yeah, I share that concern. Mr. Williams, why don't you email it to, you have both Mr. Mulholland and my emails. Why don't you
Right.
email it to us? Why don't we go off the record for 5 minutes? That'll give anybody a chance to take a drink of water or a bathroom break if they need it. Email those to us, and then we can each take a look at it.
Sure. Mr. Mulholland, would you like me to also email it to your colleague?
Yes, please, Brianna Enck.
Yes,
Sure.
I have email as well. You should be receiving it momentarily.
Okay, I'm looking in my email now.
I'm going to step away for 2 of those 5 minutes you gave my colleagues.
That's fine. Thank you. If you need 5 minutes, Mr. Williams, you can take it.
Thank you.
You're gonna send me, you're gonna
That was
send
all
me
off the
the
record,
exhibit?
right, Judge?
Wait, one person at a time. Just a minute to the tech. Mr. Williams, what did you ask?
That wasn't me.
It was me, Judge.
I was
Gary.
asking if she's gonna send me the exhibit 38, not the attachment.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Mr. Mulholland, did you say something?
No, Judge.
I thought somebody.
I did, Judge Gary.
Oh, all right.
Okay, that was all off the record, right? We're still off the record at this
Still
point.
off the record, but
Okay.
let's go back on. Marked for identification as Respondents Exhibit 38, an email from Ms. Darden Citron to the board dated April 9th, 2020. That is moved in without objection, moved into the record. However, any attachment thereto is not part of the record. And Mr. Williams, we're back on the record, so whenever you're ready to proceed, you can.
Yes, I'm sending it to Mr. Doherty.
Okay, that's fine.
Mr. Doherty, please let me know if I just sent it. Please let me know if you received it.
Yes, I just received it. Let me,
Okay,
Put it in the
I'll
database.
let you know when to put it up. I don't need you to put it up just yet.
Are you ready, Mr. Williams?
Yes, sorry about that. Okay, so Antoinette, yes or no? You said in your previous testimony that there was no reason to mention Trustee Drogic's age discrimination comments because the attorney had written in a memo that no violation of a policy had occurred. Yes or no?
Objection, Judge. I don't think that's the testimony. And if he wants to recite a specific statement from the transcript, that's the fair way to do it.
Yes, I agree with that, Mr. Williams. If you have a citation to the transcript, otherwise fashion your questions directly in terms of without referencing or restating a prior testimony.
Well, then I'm going to need a moment to cite the transcript.
Okay, why don't we take 5 more minutes so everybody can have that time while you're doing that.
Thank you. Okay, so on page 76, of the transcript, I'm going to read, I'm going to give it some context. I just don't want to throw it out there. Question from Mr. Mulholland to Antoinette. Question, did Terry Williams have any authorization to reveal what was said in executive session? Antoinette, no. Question by Mr. Mulholland. I thought you said earlier that the board had been advised that there was no age discrimination, the isolated comment that was made in December. Antoinette says that is correct. So my question to you, Antoinette, is yes or no? You referenced that the board was advised that there was no age discrimination. When did that occur? When were we advised? I'm sorry, that's not a yes or no question. When were we advised that there were no, that Tanya's comments did not amount to age discrimination?
I don't remember the exact time frame, but I know that David had sent me an email about it, which I then sent to the lawyers. They responded. I sent it back to David.
Right, and you sent it back to David. When did you send it back to David? Do you recall when you sent it back to David?
I don't think so. I think it was it had to be it was a time between, because it was pretty hectic at work. A lot of these emails come during a time where I am not on our email because I'm working. But I think either David or you said something about it, and then I looked up the response to see where the response was, and then I forwarded at that time. But it was some time between that.
So you sent it to David. When you sent it to David, did you send it to any other board member? Did you send it to the entire board? Yes or no? You're muted again, Antoinette. Yes or no? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, David sent me the question. I responded back to him.
And you responded back to David, but did you respond to the rest of the board? Yes or no?
Yes.
I didn't hear you because you were muted. You're muted again.
I responded back to David.
Okay, so then, but in response to Mr. Mulholland's comment, you said, I thought you said earlier that the board had been advised that there was no discrimination, the isolated comment that was made in December. And you said that's correct. So you said you sent it to David, but you said you didn't send it to anybody else. So how was the board advised of this? You're muted.
Really not touching it. So I believe that when I think you inquired about it, David must have said something. I don't remember how you got involved, but when you inquired about it, and then that's when I went to look for the email, and I sent it to everyone then at that time. But initially, no, I was responding to David's email.
So can we have Exhibit 38, please?
The text can
Yes.
share the screen.
Right, I'm putting it up there right now.
Thank you.
Right. If you could, can you, okay, great. Can you see that, Antoinette? Antoinette, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just give the time frame of the incident here. So yes or no, Tanya made her age discrimination comment about Dr. Valenti in December, yes or no?
Yes.
David, yes or no, David inquired about whether or not he had an obligation to report something to you in December as well, yes or no?
I don't remember the exact date, but it's possible, yes.
Okay, and then you referred, yes or no, you referred David's questions to the attorney, yes or no?
Yes.
Did you do it in relative proximity to David's question, which would have been in December, yes or no?
I don't remember exactly when, but I would say around the time he asked me, for sure.
Okay, and yes or no, once you got a response from the attorney, you sent it to David.
Yes, I said that, yes.
But you did not send it to the rest of the board, yes or no?
Asked and answered, Mr. Williams. That's been asked and answered.
Okay, so if we look at this memo here, it's dated April 9th, yes or no?
Yes.
That is 2 days after, in executive session, my revelation, that's 2 days after Dr. Valenti heard the comments that Tanya made, yes or no?
Yes.
So could you read your memo of April 9th?
Good afternoon, everyone. A while back, I spoke with a board member about their concerns regarding the topic Terry shared at Tuesday's meeting. I told the board member I would reach out to the lawyers. I did so and shared the lawyers' feedback with the board members. Later, the board member also shared questions to the lawyer. Please receive our lawyers' responses. Thank you.
Yes or no? So this was the memo or the opinion that was first shared with David.
Objection, Judge. May I be heard, Judge?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm very concerned because I see misleading questions being asked, and it may not be Mr. Williams' intention, but this memo that's referenced here, by the very words on the PDF, it's regarding obligation to report. This is separate and apart from any communication between the board's lawyers and the board or Antoinette concerning whether age discrimination had occurred. And I've seen the memo I've seen these documents, and I know that the one that's referenced here is not dated April 9, at least if it's the document I'm aware of. But again, we haven't received this yet today, and the witness doesn't have it in front of her. So to the extent that I believe there's an either deliberately or inadvertently misleading question being asked, Ms. Darden-Cintron definitely has no way of knowing what's being asked of her. The exhibits.
Two things, Judge. Two things, Judge. I can certainly provide the document to Ms. Darden-Cintron so to refresh her memory. But more importantly, to the point, this is addressing the question that I ask is addressing the question and answer that Mr. Mulholland and Antoinette, their correspondence of at the last time, where he said where Mr. Mulholland asked the leading question. I thought you said earlier that the board had been advised. This was the board's advisement. And the point that I'm making is Antoinette said that we had been advised. Well, as she already said, the discussion happened in April. Dr. Valenti heard Dr. Dragic's comments on April 7th, and only it is April 9th where she is circulating the memo. So therefore, the board had not been advised. So I was just.
Mr. Williams, okay, you're making arguments, which I don't want to get too deeply into.
Sure.
But the exhibit which has been entered into the record establishes the date of April 9th and the communication which took place at that point in time by the board president to the other board members.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on.
Okay. So isn't it a fact, yes or no, Antoinette, that you did not circulate this to the board ahead of the April 7th meeting where Dr. Valenti learned of these comments?
Objection, Judge.
Basis, what, just a minute, Mr. Williams, basis?
Could I have the question read back, Judge?
Yes, please read it back, reporter.
Isn't it a fact, yes or no, Antoinette, that you did not circulate this to the board ahead of the April 7th meeting where Dr. Valenti learned of these comments?
The nature of my objection is as follows. Number one, it's not clear what this is. As I said, the title of this memo is obligation to report discrimination. And secondly, the memo on its face says, I did so and shared the lawyer's feedback with the board members. I just don't see how the witness can answer this without the full documentation in front of her.
I mean, Mr. Mulholland, are you comfortable with Mr. Williams providing the document? The problem is we all assume, based on our earlier discussion, that the document that's attached contains privileged information.
Well, I certainly don't mind Ms. Darden-Cintron seeing it. It's a memo that she originally saw. It's to the board. It's advice to the board, so she could be educated on the date of the memo. And it might be a more fair question then.
I think that's fine, but we won't screen share the document. So, Mr. Williams, are you able to, I don't think Mr. Mulholland and I can open up that attachment, can we? I think I tried and I couldn't.
I can send it to you.
Mr. Mulholland, can you open that attachment?
No, Judge.
Yeah.
No, I can send it to you. I have it open and I can send it separately. I guess my question is, do I label this as Exhibit 39?
No, because it's not going into evidence as
Okay.
a privileged document. Why don't you send it to Mr. Mulholland and perhaps there can be a stipulation as to the date of the memo.
Sure. Okay. Bear with me 1 second, please. Judge, I just sent it to you and Mr. Mulholland.
Okay, let me see. Okay. Okay, Mr. Mulholland, do you see it?
I have it, Judge, and I would request that the witness be allowed to see this before she answers this question about the question that I just objected to.
Yes, that's fine.
Shall I send it to her?
You send it only to her,
Sure.
and I'll make it clear, Mr. Williams, that the fact that we're showing it to Ms. Darden Citron, who was originally part of the client relationship when this now, but also when this memo was issued, this does not at all affect its privileged status.
Judge, does the board president have access to her emails while we're waiting?
She can look at her email for the purpose of reviewing this particular document.
I just sent it, Antoinette.
Ms. Darden Citron, do you have access where you're seated to your emails? You're on mute.
Sorry, yes, I received it. I'm going to look at it now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's go back on the record. Mr. Williams, without discussing the substance of the email, you can ask questions subject to any objections.
Sure, thank you. So transcriber, could you please read the last question I asked back, please?
Would the reporter read the question, please?
Judge,
Is it a fact, yes or no, Antoinette, that you did not circulate this to the board ahead of the April 7th meeting with Dr. Valentine learned of these comments?
That would be my question.
Do you understand the question?
I understand. I believe I answered it. I said, yes, I did not send it prior to. I said I sent it to David in response to his email to me.
Yes. Another question, Mr. Williams?
Yes, if you give me a second, Judge, thank you. So you said you had not circulated it, but yet in response to Mr. Mulholland's question, and I'm trying to get it back up here again. Hold on to 77, sorry about that. So in response to Mr. Darden's, Mr. Mulholland's question, I thought you said earlier that the board had been advised that there was not age discrimination. the isolated comment that was made in December. And you said that's correct. So that was inaccurate on your part, yes or no? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I don't think she's answered yet.
I'm sorry.
I haven't answered. Can you repeat your question?
So, okay, so you just answered that you did not circulate the memo to anybody but David. But in response to Mr. Mulholland's question, and this is his question, I thought you said earlier that the board had been advised that there was not age discrimination, the isolated comment that was made in December, and you answered that's correct.
To that, yes, to that question, that still is. If I'm understanding your question.
You're saying, again, let's call up the email. The email is dated April 9th.
Mr. Williams, the witness has testified a few times that she did not circulate that memo to the board before the April 9th meeting.
So there was, okay. So Antoinette, if you did not circulate it before the April 7th meeting, I'm sorry, Judge. Sure, it's all right. So yes or no, there is no way that I could have known about the lawyer's opinion because you failed to send it to me and the rest of the board before the April 7th meeting. Yes or no?
No, there's a way that you can be aware of it. There's a way. If the email was shared from David to you, yes, there is a way.
The question, first of all, was yes or no. Did you share, as board president, did you share the memo? So for instance, let me rephrase.
No.
Let me rephrase.
Wait, Mr. Williams, stop talking if you hear my voice, okay?
Mhm.
The question has been asked and answered now 4 times in terms of when it was shared with the board by Ms. Darden-Cintron. If there's another question, and she's answered that it may have been brought to your attention by somebody else, but not by her. Now ask another question.
What is the date on the email, on the memo that I shared with you, Antoinette?
April 9th.
No, it's not. On the memo. The memo.
Mr. Williams, I assume you're referencing the memo from the attorneys?
Yes.
January 6th.
Thank you. When is the date that, and it says to whom? Who is it addressed to? Antoinette?
In my email, I have to scroll up.
No, it's not the email. It's the.
So now we're not in the memo anymore.
No, we're still in the memo.
No, Mr. Williams, she has to find the memo and the email that you sent to her.
Okay, thank you.
The Board of Education of the Greenberg Central School District.
And it's dated January 6, 2020, yes?
That's been answered, yes.
And when did you send this, when did you share this memo with the Board of Education of the Greenberg Central School District?
I'm sorry, I answered that questions ago.
Judge, I've asked the question and the witness has been responsive.
No, it's not non-responsive because I think the question's been asked and answered.
Well, then I would ask the reporter to read it back because I don't recall it.
Well, ask another question, Mr. Williams, rephrase it.
Yes or no, you didn't send this email to this memo to the board until April 9th, 2020. Yes or no?
Yes or no that I did not send it? Yes. Until that time.
Yes or no? That was 3 months after the attorneys wrote this memo to the board.
That's obvious, Mr. Williams, on the face of the document.
So, yes or no? Well, never mind. I'll rephrase. With the delay of a memo to the board by the board president, with a 3-month delay of a memo from the board's attorney to the board that was sent to the president to disseminate to the board, would that be characteristic of a dereliction of duty by the board president? Yes or no?
Objection.
Basis, go ahead.
The board president's conduct is not on trial here. This is about whether Mr. Williams, on this particular charge, inappropriately revealed confidential executive session information on April 7 at a board meeting. Whether and to what extent the board president distributed a memo concerning any topic has no bearing on that.
Mr. Williams, do you want to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor, I would dispute that because, again, the board president at the last hearing characterized, she said that I called her a bad president. And what I'm trying to obviously prove is either her actions justified what I said.
Well,
And I would say that withholding a memo for 3 months that's addressed to the board would constitute a bad president.
Mr. Williams, that's argument. You can save that for your post-hearing brief. In terms of the objection, Mr. Mahal was correct that it is not the behavior of any board member or the board in its entirety that's here before us for consideration.
Okay, all right. So we've established that it was inaccurate when you said that the lawyer's memo had been circulated about whether or not a violation had occurred. Let me go back to, jump to.
Excuse me, strike the last statement because it was not a question. Go ahead, Mr. Williams, you can ask another.
Sure, okay. So you have made allegations that I have bullied and engaged in name calling of you and my colleagues. And not to be repetitive, at the last examination, you said I called you bad president, but earlier today, when I asked you, did I ever call you bad president Darden Centron or bad president, Madam Bad President, you said no. So please tell me, what names have I ever called Ashley Pineda? Other than Ashley Pineda or Trustee Pineda?
I have not heard you call him a name.
What names have you heard me call Trustee Warner, other than Trustee Warner, David, or President Warner when he was president?
You've called him incompetent before. You've yelled at him. You've screamed at him in public.
I didn't ask you how I raised my voice. I asked you what name I called him.
You've called him a variety of names I cannot remember. All I can remember is the yelling and screaming at him.
Okay, so so apparently I did not call him any names since you can't recall anything.
No,
What name?
Mr. Williams, strike the last comment. Again, argument, you can say.
Sure.
Brief. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Got it. What name have I called Trustee Tanya Dragic?
I can't refer to names, but you have yelled and called and
All I asked is names. All I asked are names. I didn't ask anything else. what
I don't
names?
I don't recall what specific names. I
Okay.
recall yelling and other words.
I didn't ask you
thrown
about
at.
I didn't ask you about my voice. I asked you about what names other than the name, they're given
I
names,
can't, it
have I
happens
called?
quite often,
Wait,
so I
wait,
don't
wait, wait,
remember
wait.
specific names.
Only talk one at a time, okay? Ask a question, Mr. Williams, and then give the witness an opportunity to respond.
Okay. What names have I called trustee Carey?
You've referenced her age.
I didn't ask you about age. I asked you what name. I asked you specifically what name have I called Mrs. Carey other than Miss Carey, Cora, trustee Carey, or trustee Cora?
Called her old before. You called her other names as well.
What other names?
I do not remember the specific names.
Okay,
The
all right.
yelling and the
So,
name calling is a consistent matter. So
okay,
it's
that's
not
it.
up
That's
with
it.
them.
I asked you a question and you answered. You alleged that I called her old.
You didn't let me finish answering it. You interrupted me.
Well, you know
Oh.
what, again, because it's cross-examination, the narrowness of the question is what needs to be responded to. I'll allow the answer to stand on the record, but Mr. Williams ask another question.
Sure. And finally, is that 6? Yes. What name did I call trustee mayors besides Tracy, trustee mayors, or vice president mayors?
You called her a Karen, you called her a baby, and other names that I can't remember all the names you've used.
Okay. So yes or no, you only, yes or no, you've only identified that I've called Tracy and Miss Carey names other than their given names. Yes or no?
Those that I could remember, yes.
Okay, that's the answer, yes. So is this an efficient use of district money, yes or no? Because I called 2 people 2 names.
Judge Notman.
Yes or no?
Wait, is there an objection, Mr. Mulholland?
Yes, the question is argumentative and it summarizes quite a lot in one question. And I think it calls for a narrative response. I don't think it's a fair question. Those are my reasons.
Mr. Williams?
Your Honor, that argument is irrelevant. The witness said, I asked the witness what names I called people. She said I called 2 people names.
I understand the witness's testimony, Mr. Williams.
Sure, and I just asked her a question in regards to whether or not I'm asking a question about if she thinks that it's an efficient use of district money to spend this amount of money because I called 2 people names.
Well,
it's a relevant question.
Mr. Williams, first of all, the charges, as we all know, are not limited to the sole issue of name calling. But Mr. Mulholland is correct. It calls for a narrative answer. Are you prepared to let the witness answer in narrative form?
Sure.
You want to answer, Ms. Darden Citron? Please go ahead.
Could you ask the question again?
Well, let me ask you this, Judge. How long is this?
Just a second. Would the reporter read back the question?
Question, is this an efficient use of district money? Yes or no? Because I called 2 people 2 names.
Okay, so it's not a yes or no answer. You can answer, Ms. Darden Citron.
It's efficient because though I can remember 2 names here, there is a pattern of name calling over the years. And so it's a lot of names, it's a lot of yelling, it's a lot of behavior. So yes, I think it is efficient because this type of behavior ongoing happening in our district while we're trying to conduct business is a distraction. It stops the work, it makes us dysfunctional.
Okay. Is there another question?
Yes, there is. So you admit, yes, that the board is dysfunctional? Yes or no?
Objection.
Wait,
Your
just-
Honor, she
Mr.
just said that.
Mr.
She just
Williams,
said that.
Mr. Williams, there's an objection. That means Mr. Holland gets the opportunity to state the basis. And each time I've given you the opportunity to respond. So go ahead, Mr. Mulholland.
I believe everyone who's listening understands the witness has just stated that it's Mr. Williams who is making the board dysfunctional. And so it's a misleading question to ask her if this is what she's admitting, that the board is dysfunctional. But I withdraw the objection, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Williams, you can have your question answered. Ms. Darden Citron?
It was a yes or no question.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Would the reporter read back the last question?
So you admit, yes, that the board is dysfunctional, yes or no?
Yes. It operates.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's talk now that you brought up the word dysfunctional. Let's talk about the superintendent search, the recently completed superintendent search. You have testified that I added context to my two questions in the first round of the superintendent search. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no? Was I the only trustee to add context to his or her questions?
I believe, I'm sorry, you said yes or no? No.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Did Tanya Dragic add context to her question?
Yes, and I asked her
Yes
not
or
to.
no? Yes or no?
It is a yes or no question.
The
Yes
first
or
time he
no?
asked the question, it
I
was.
object, Your Honor.
Just a
I
second.
object.
Just a second. Read back the last question, please, reporter.
Yes or no, did Tanya Dragic add context to her question? The answer is yes, and I asked her not to.
Okay. Mr. Williams?
Yes or no? Yes or no? When as part of my adding context to the question, to my questions, I said the board was dysfunctional. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no? That would be consistent then with your opinion of our board, given what you said earlier. Yes or no?
No.
Yes or no? Did you say earlier that our board is dysfunctional?
Objection. Her testimony stands, Judge.
Yes, her testimony does stand.
Sure, thank you. Yes or no? And the question that I asked about the dysfunction of our board, the alleged dysfunction of our board, Your Honor, may I have 3 minutes to get my questions? This other line of questions was left downstairs.
Okay, just, yes, but Ms. Darden Citron, are you raising your hand?
I'm raising my hand. I think we've had this is just my thought. We had many multiple breaks. It's 9:25. I've been sitting here since at least 7 o'clock. And there's been a lot of leeway for gathering of papers and all sorts.
I object, Your Honor. I object.
Well, Mr. Williams, she's not even done saying what her issue is.
Okay, sorry.
Ms. Darden
Sorry.
Citron, you're objecting to taking another break at this point?
Yes, I am. I work just like many of us in here do.
So, Mr. Williams, are you saying that you have the questions written out, but they're not with you in that room?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we take literally 2 minutes to go get your questions, please.
Thank you. So my question,
Back on the record. Go ahead.
yes, so we all, yes or no, Antoinette, we all had assigned questions during all of the interview process.
Yes.
And yes or no, the consultant advised us to ask the same question in the same manner each time.
Yes.
Yes. And yes or no, I began by adding context to my question.
Yes.
Yes or no, and the context I added was twofold to the first question. Let me read the question first to see if you recall that this was my question. Yes or no, was this my question? How would you build a good working relationship between the board and superintendent? Please cite examples.
Honestly, I don't remember whose question was assigned. I don't know specifically if that was yours.
Okay, all right. And yes or no, I added the following context and words in effect. That yes or no, that the board was dysfunctional.
You said more than that, but yes, that was part of what you said.
That's
Yes.
part of what I said. Yes or no, and yes or no. The other context that I added is that if you were selected as superintendent, there is a likelihood that you may be working with a different board that hired you because 3 seats are open. Yes or no?
Yes.
And then yes or no, is it a fact that for the upcoming election, there are 7 candidates for 3 seats?
Yes.
Yes or no? So I was telling the truth. About the likelihood that the candidate could be working with a new board.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes or no? My other question was the following. And if you don't remember it, that's fine, but I just want to read it. Yes or no? What experiences have you had with improving and upgrading facilities and infrastructure from the issue on the ballot through construction and activation? Yes or no? Was that my question?
I don't remember.
Okay. Yes or no? Did I add context to this question?
I don't remember.
Yes or no? Did I say that in words in effect that as part of adding context that there is one current board member who worked to defeat the building bond that we put up a couple of years earlier?
I don't know if it was tied to that question, but yes, you did say that.
Yes or no? Did I mention a trustee's name?
No.
Okay, thank you. Yes or no? If you were I'll retract that one. Yes or no? I'll retract that one as well. Okay, give me 1 second while I move to the next set of questions. Judge, that is it. I have no more questions for the witness.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mulholland, do you want to proceed with your redirect examination at this point? Or, you know, I'm mindful of what Ms. Darden-Citron said about, you know, the hours that she's been on the stand. So, but I'll defer to your wishes. You know how long your questioning will be.
Judge, one concern I have is that this same board was hard at work last night for the community until I'm told well after midnight, after 1 a.m., I think. It's not often that a witness speaks up on her own behalf, in my experience. So I'm giving weight to what Ms. Darden-Citron said. I'm ready to go with my cross, but I feel like I have to apologize to my own witness that I need to, not my cross, my redirect. I feel like I don't want to feel that I have to almost apologize to her to keep her on the stand any longer. I have abided the court's instruction not to speak with the witness. And Ms. Darden-Citron and I have not spoken about her testimony at all since last week. And I can assure the court that we will continue to do that. So I think if we could just resume this at the next session, that might be more fair to the witness so she's fresh. I'll defer to Your Honor.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. You know, I wasn't even aware of the board's time commitment yesterday, but, you know, I do know that hours on the stand, and we've taken a few minute breaks here and there, but we've tried to go straight through. So I think it will be most efficient and most respectful, frankly, of the process and the record if we give the witness the opportunity to recharge. We are scheduled to resume next Tuesday on the 11th at 6 p.m. So we will then resume with your redirect examination of this witness, and then after this witness, proceed to the district's next witness. Okay? Ms. Darden-Citron, again, do not discuss your testimony with anyone. And thank you all for your tolerance of our late start today. That should not be a recurrence, and we're done then for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you.